Okay, it's 10:30. I'm gonna go ahead and call this special call meeting to order. On behalf of the City Council, we just want to welcome you guys here today on this Tuesday, July 21st, 2026 at 10:30 a.m. I spoke with Council Member Nathan Chambers a few days ago. He informed me that he would be absent today because of a family matter. So I'm going to entertain a motion to hit the floor to excuse Council Member Chambers' absence.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Taylor.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Councilmember Harvey Walker. Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Indicate by raising your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. So the purpose today is for two items that we have on the agenda. And the first item is clarifying and amending delegated contract authority of the city manager. Yep, Mr. Randy.
And Jewel met with me or talked to me last week about this. It was not anticipated. We anticipated with the budget amendment, as I understand it, that was done at the last regular meeting, that would give us what we needed to move forward with a transaction to offer and make an offer on a parcel of land, and Daniel can speak to that in a moment. But and the budget amendment certainly was a necessary step, but that did not quite complete the process, and it wasn't anticipated that we would need it. But we don't want to delay this till the next regular meeting, because that would delay our ability to hopefully tie up this parcel of land that we're interested in making an offer on. And as I understand it, there was a previous authority done through a resolution, and I wasn't here, but that satisfied part of it, but it closes the loop with what's before you today. And since the city attorney was here, and this allows us to close this loop, I will defer to him if he wants to make any comments on the first resolution, speaking to that.
The council has previously defined what the manager can do, financially speaking, has limits, et cetera. One of the things that was not in the last resolution was go out and buy property. So this resolution adds that possibility that the manager can buy a piece of property. Obviously, you guys, if you pass it in the budget and put the money there, then he can go out and make an offer on the property. That was not previously in our policies. So this is a kind of a cleanup process in both counts, because the other thing you're going to see is the budget amendment that did pass but didn't identify the property. And then I got into a conversation with Jewel. Okay, are we going to ask them to take some other action to purchase the property? She said, no, generally, if we put the money there, we just do it. And I said, that's not what the documents say. That's one of those things I do.
Question.
Yes.
What's the difference in his grants of authority of spending, being able to purchase? Why is there such a distinction where we got to use property? I mean, wouldn't he have a grant of authority to spend X number of dollars? Does it have to be defined?
Well, it didn't really have property purchases. It had like everything else but buying property. And property, real estate. Now, let's take property and split it into two. Property can be personal or it can be real estate. Real estate has its own kind of processes that need to be followed. So it needed to be in his authority to sign an offer to purchase a piece of property. And that was not going to, as you know, I hate to say all this stuff all at once because you have to absorb a lot at one time. When we do a contract with someone, it requires the chief financial officer, Jewel, to attach that we got the budget for it, otherwise the contract's no good. So we know that is one of the bases. You guys fixed the problem with the budget transfer that you did at the last meeting. It is now there, and she can put that on a contract, but the authority was not there for the purchase of the property because, I know I'm getting into the weeds, because our previous policy did not say he could purchase it if it's in the budget. This is tying it together. when you buy a piece of property, you're supposed to let the public know what you're buying, which is the other component of this. So what you have is a new resolution which gives the authority to the manager if the budget is there for doing so. And the other is your previous budget transfer that you did, I think for $300,000, is now going to identify the property that there is an interest in. It's kind of just housekeeping to fix what you thought you had already done.
So his grants of authority, do we have that clarified too?
This, with the resolution 2026 R46, yes, that takes care of that.
Okay.
So to execute the document, whose signature is there besides the manager? Is the financial director signature on it also?
Yes.
She,
You got two signatures in order to execute the document.
yeah, she has to sign off that the funding is, she's pre-audited it. And this is all tied to the audit. Once they review these kinds of transactions, they make sure that there's a clear pathway to it. And the attorney pointed out that we have specific authority. And I recall that it's always been understood that if it's adopted in the budget for capital items like trucks and equipment, things like that, very clear, but we don't buy property very often. And so normally, if it worked out, we would have had it all before you, but this one, we didn't have it all before you in terms of you knew the site, you knew what was proposed, we talked about it through all the committee discussions, but you had not seen it in the form of a resolution that specified that property or the budget amendment specified. And so this will clarify that. And it's a good learning experience because going forward, it shouldn't be an issue because you've now authorized it. And we'll just make sure we specify the site in the resolution or the document, the budget ordinance, the appropriation. So you won't be putting money in, $500,000, whatever, to buy any property. It'll be specific to a property, which gives the board its assurance that, that the manager is carrying out your directives.
Yeah, it doesn't require the second step, which I said, I don't think what you got here would do it. We need to go back to council and get them to specifically say on this particular piece of property. And she said, well, let's fix it because this is the way the auditors want us to do it. So as a legislative body, you control the purse strings. You know what you're going to do a transfer like you did in the previous meeting, what it's for. This will tie it up. If you guys move the money over, you're doing it for a purpose. Let's define the purpose. That's the short of it.
So with that said, then the first item would be the resolution that clearly authorizes that. And then the second item would follow on the specific land. And that's where Daniel can comment about the specificity of the site.
What kind of motion would you need?
Yeah, what's the motion for the,
Adopt Resolution 2026 R46.
I'll make a motion that we adopt.
I'll second.
That
So-
resolution.
That resolution.
okay, so Councilmember Walker is making the motion to adopt 2026-R-46 resolution clarifying, amending the delegated contract authority to our city manager. And it was seconded by Councilmember Taylor. Okay. Any further discussion on this motion? All right. Hearing no discussion, all in favor indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous. So next item on the agenda, land identification amendment to July 2026 water and sewer capital project budget ordinance amendment 2026-16 to align with resolution 2026-R-46.
And with that, if you need Daniel to review the site specific, we can do that.
We already know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for purposes of the public.
Yeah, yeah, Daniel, you want to come to the podium? Yeah.
The physical location is
It's the triangle.
It's the triangle. So as you know, we are running into about the end of what we can move wastewater from the west end of town to the wastewater treatment plant. We still have plenty of capacity at the wastewater treatment plant. There is just a force main that we put in 8-9 years ago down Country Club. We refer to that as the west end force main. A way to move more sewer down the existing line is to basically cut it in half, add another lift station in there, and then repump. You cut your head in half, you double your capacity from what the pumps can do, roughly. So we've been looking up and down Country Club for a suitable site in the right area, and that is for sale. And so we have found that, we think, in an area right in front of the high school at Bridges Street and Country Club. There is that weird little, at Vashti, that weird little triangle that's been for sale. It's a challenging site for something, but it works really good for a pump station. We didn't really want to go down Country Club Road because no matter how much you assure neighbors that a pump station is going to be great, it's still a pump station.
If there could be a perfect place, that's a perfect place.
That
for it.
is.
Yeah.
So what you'll see there when we're done is all the equipment is located underground except for control panels, which will be above ground. It won't be an actual building or anything, just control panels above ground, and a generator, of course, and that kind of stuff. So I think that's a really good spot. There are no direct residential neighbors. It's right across from the high school. It's in a challenging lot, and it's right up against the force main that's there. And the price is right.
And this map references it as 4800 Country Club Road, although it would front on Vashti.
All that, yes, entry would be off Vashti. We would turn in and then turn down, and it would be visited by a maintenance worker once a day, check everything out, make sure everything's running. I mean, it would not be an office or anything like that. It's just like, we have 37 lift stations around town. It would be very similar to that.
Yeah. And I agree with Councilmember Abel's in a perfect location. And I've talked to Daniel about this, and also our city manager, Mr. Randy, about our growth that we're experiencing on the western end of the city, especially with the interstate coming. There's going to be more of that. So this is getting ahead of that right now, making sure we have the infrastructure in place to be able to handle that growth. So
And we are, as the mayor knows and the council members know, we are pursuing grant funding and federal and state resources to fund the future upgraded infrastructure that Daniel just described, which would include the lift station that would go on this site. But obviously, we have to have the site tied up when it's available, or we lose it potentially, so that when we get all those funds, we can go to work.
Site is the most important. You can't draw your plans. You can't submit a permit. You can't do anything with all the rules and regs to the state, so you know where you're going to build it.
absolutely.
The further identification of the property, you have on the document that you're given in red, the actual PIN numbers for those two lots that are together. So if you want to further identify it beyond the 4800 Country Club Road, almost everybody knows where this is, because you drive by it and you say, how in the world will they ever use that piece of property? And this is the answer to it.
And it's ugly.
I mean, anyway, that'll take care of it. And I just want to let you know that the next step after you have completed your motion for this, I have drafted an offer to purchase to meet what are the requirements. We will have in that a reservation for engineering works, so whatever has to be done to assure that this property is suitable for what the plans are before it becomes solid.
Okay, I make a motion to the land identification amendment to July 2026 Water and Sewer Capital Project Budget Ordinance Amendment 2026-16 to align with the resolution 2026 R46.
Okay, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Baloo.
I'll say, go ahead, Ron.
Okay,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilmember Harvey Walker. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, hearing no discussion, all in favor indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous.
All right, thank you.
All right. And that's all.
Before we leave, Mayor, I'd like to put something out there real fast.
Okay.
I'd like for us to think about running utilities down Country Club Road. And the reason why I say that is that there was a church that tried to do something down there. Now, my concern, well, not, it's not a concern, I'm just saying let's try to get ahead of, we're growing. I think if we decide to do something like that, run utilities there, we may be able to pick up some property owners, that if we go out that way. I mean, this is nothing immediate, I'd just like for us to think about it, because things are going up, prices are going up.
That might, I was just thinking this, Mr. Walker, that may be one of the good topics for our upcoming October now, I think it is, end of October retreat. That'll give Mr. Williams some time to put some thoughts together. I was gonna say figures, but not necessarily figures, but thoughts. Well, spot on.
Yeah.
This
agree.
will give us the
idea.
infrastructure to handle
That's
additional
right.
capacity, as Daniel said. What we would have to look at is the accessibility to that future line, and we'll get the engineer working on that. He's got some general ideas, but we can get very specific.
Well, the water already runs down most of Country Club anyhow, does it not?
Yes.
It's just sewer that we
All the way
don't
down
have.
Country Club, yes.
Okay, okay.
And with each lift station we put in, depending on how deep it is and various other factors, there's a radius around it
Mm-hmm.
to where we can gravity to that. And when you get out of that, then you have to put another one in and
Right.
leapfrog them in.
We need to remind ourselves that we have talked about how to expand and when to expand Country Club Road. Because if you build and put the sewer in, and then you expand the road, that's not cost effective. So please include in that research, Daniel, the impact of any potential expansion on Country Club Road. And I covered, and it needs that.
Any other thoughts?
No, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Good discussion.
Oh, yeah, great discussion. Thank you, guys. Well, with no other business to discuss, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
All righty.
Thank you.